I believe the simplest explanation is there is no God. No one created the universe, and no one directed our fate. This leads me to one profound realization that there is possibly no heaven and no afterlife either. We have this one life to appreciate, the grand design of the universe, and for that, I'm extremely grateful. Stephen Hawkins, and this is the Godless Rebelution.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, world and the rest of Salt Lake.
The world and the rest of Salt Lake?
Yeah, because every week I do it the other way around.
Do you?
I say hello, Salt Lake and rest of the world. So this time,
Sure.
Yeah.
World and the rest of Salt Lake.
Like the ones that aren't here?
Yeah, the ones that are not in this particular part of Salt Lake. Hello to them.
We're not in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
We claim it, but it's a dirty little
I don't even know that this would be a suburb of Salt Lake.
No, I think not. This is
a few away.
This is the beyond the great nothing.
It's about as far from Salt Lake as I am.
Well, sure. Well, yeah, because if you live in Salt Lake County, everything north of 1000 North and everything south of, like 90th South is the great unknown.
I would say 123rd.
You think? Has it expanded?
Well, 123rd is Sandy Draper.
Yeah.
I still get confused with the number streets.
Draper actually goes to 146, but I'm not counting that. So if you say 123rd to Sandy Draper, Bluffdale.
Well, and I haven't lived in Salt Lake County for a little while, so I'm thinking back in the old days.
And you're north
when it was 90th South was, that was Sandy. That's kind of you're cut off.
Right. Sure. And this is awesome radio for everybody else too, who's outside of Utah, and probably those who are in Utah too that are going, no, fucking Salt Lake is all the way to Lehigh, or who knows? I don't know what they think. Or it's only till 600 South. I don't know.
Well, if you're not in Utah, you now have directions on how to get around Utah.
I'm in Bountiful, which is just north of North Salt Lake. Come on.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it just north?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
By like 200 yards.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you go Salt Lake, North Salt Lake, Bountiful.
Oh, okay.
Farmington. No, it's Farmington.
Yeah,
Farmington,
Farmington is the next one. Farmington, Kaysville, Centerville. I don't remember if that's the exact order.
A lot of hills.
Yeah.
All the vills.
All right. Well,
all the vills and tons.
We'll just we'll just say Salt Lake from Layton to Springville.
Sure. Fuck you, other people.
Sorry, St. George.
Logan.
That too. Yeah. So should we get started?
I guess we can. Yeah.
I was thinking today we could just talk to Dan about what it was like to be, well, I guess currently, but
he's the outgoing president of the Atheists of Utah. But you've got a new gig.
Well, sure.
Whoa,
kind of a new gig, kind of a gig that I've been, so at the American Atheist Convention on Easter weekend this year, I was selected as regional director for American Atheists here in Utah, and I haven't been able to do a whole lot in that arena yet because I've been busy with Atheists of Utah stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been on the board for Atheists of Utah now for almost 3 full years. Served as vice president my first year and president for the last 2 years, and my term ends. We do 3-year terms as board members for Atheists of Utah. So my term ends, Tracy's term ends, and then we have another opening that was vacated by another board member that we'll be voting on. So we've got 3 open spots on the board coming up, 2 3-year terms. One of the positions that's open is to just complete 1 year of the 3-year term for this other board position. But yeah, it's been a good gig. It's been exciting, sometimes turbulent, sometimes really, really great, sometimes kind of shitty. Sometimes.
Like what? What do you mean? Name names.
Well, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be doing my job as president if I didn't piss off somebody.
Sure,
right? Sure. I feel like, I'm doing a pretty good job if more than half of our members are happy with what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, or I hope, that a good deal more than half of our members have or do think that I've done a good job.
Yeah, I would think so.
But yeah, I mean, certainly there are some people that I've pissed off, some people that I continue to piss off, some people that will be happy to see me go, some people that will be sad to see me go, but I'm still going to be around. I mean, it's not like I'm going to drop off the face of the planet or anything, and I'll still be around to help and consult, and, you know, there will be a period of transition where we're, you know, reassigning duties, getting all of the paperwork switched over to whomever is designated as the next president. I don't know. Do you guys know how that all works? How we determine stuff for the board, for the positions and all that?
I know you said you have the general vote, and then after the vote, when everybody's on the board, the board members kind of pick who nominate themselves for a position on the board.
Right, yeah. So the way it has worked is that, you know, when you run for a position on the board, you don't run for a specific position or title. You run to just be a member of the board. And the Atheists of Utah board is purely democratic. I mean, my vote doesn't count any more than anybody else's vote. You know, the titles are a little bit arbitrary. I mean, according to our bylaws, we have to have a president, I think a vice president, and a secretary/treasurer. We can have either a 3 or 5 member board, depending on the size and the need. And then we can appoint committee members. We can readjust the size of the board if necessary. You know, if we want to bring on other full-time board positions, if the need arises as the group grows and whatever, we can do that. But yeah, we've gone through a period of tons and tons of growth, lots of new members, lots of new activities that we're doing, lots of activist things that we've done, a lot more community involvement. I mean, we've done, I think, a whole lot in the last 3 years.
Has there been any thoughts of adding like a podcast committee position to the board?
I think you guys are it. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Just got nominated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys have been awesome in that, you know, there was a need. I mean, we did, you know, I created the YouTube channel, I don't know how long ago, and I think I only had one video out there.
It was the one video from Pride in Provo.
Last year, right?
Last year, then I noticed that video's been up there for 9 months and nothing else ever been posted.
Right. Yeah. Well, and so the funny thing is that I initially created the YouTube channel because we had Brian Barnard come and speak at one of our coffee chats after the Utah Crosses case was decided once and for all by SCOTUS basically declining to hear the case. So Brian Barnard, who was the lead attorney on that, came and you know, spoke to us at one of the coffee chats, and we recorded that. And Richard Andrews, whom I miss terribly, that was a big loss to the atheist community. For those of you who don't know, Richard Andrews had been a fixture in the atheist community here in Utah for, you know, at least the last 30 years, longer than that, I'm sure. He's probably the single largest part of why Atheists of Utah exists today. You know, he served on the board for American Atheists. He traveled the country with Madalyn Murray O'Hair back in the day.
Really?
He was a titan and passed away this year. And I miss him a lot. He was a really, really good guy. But so Richard had recorded this because he was one of the plaintiffs for the Cross case.
Oh, okay.
And he had recorded when Brian came out and spoke to us, gave me a CD and said, you know, I don't know how to do the YouTubes. Can you do the YouTubes for me and post this out there? And I was like, sure. Okay. Well, and this was back in the day, when there were basically two, you know, fairly large atheist groups here in Utah. There was Atheists of Utah and Salt Lake Valley Atheists. And Richard had been the president running Salt Lake Valley Atheists for years and years and years. And then was elected to a position on the Atheists of Utah board. As his health declined, he initially asked me if I wanted to help him with Salt Lake Valley Atheists, and that was before I was voted onto the board for Atheists of Utah. So I was helping him do that. Then, you know, we were both elected for a position on the board at Atheists of Utah, And, he had given me this disc, and I was like, sure, we can do this. I'll go out and create a YouTube channel, and I'll try to upload this. And we were talking before the podcast that I have really shitty internet service here. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't get it to upload. It would get to like 10% and fail, 40% and fail, 30% and fail. And finally I was like, fuck it. I tried cutting it up into sections and loading it up that way. None of that was working at all. So he finally handed it over to somebody else. And they loaded it up to a different YouTube channel. I should download that and then re-upload it to Atheists of Utah.
Yeah. If you still have the original content, I could probably do it for you.
Actually, I do. I think I've got the disc upstairs.
All right.
Remind me.
Yeah.
Remind me when we're done here, and I'll get that to you.
These things don't end. What do you mean?
The endless podcast. But yeah, so we had the YouTube channel out there. You guys have been awesome in just volunteering. Hey, I think Ryan just kind of contacted me out of the blue and said, hey, I see you guys got a YouTube channel out there. You mind if I start throwing some stuff out there? And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, man, have at it. What can I do to help you out? I think it took me forever to get you the password and whatever.
Yeah. I felt bad, actually. I was like, am I bothering him too much?
No.
I was texting him like once a day, like, hey, you got that YouTube's ready? Got that YouTube's all figured out?
And that's it. I appreciate your patience. A lot of people don't realize how busy we are. It's not that a board position for Atheists of Utah is a paying gig at all. It's an all-volunteer position. So in addition to all of the work that we do for Atheists of Utah, all of the board members have, our own separate regular jobs that we work at 40 hours a week. We've got family, kids, other commitments. So, yeah, all of the Atheists of Utah stuff is a huge time commitment. Depending on what you want to do and, how much work you want to put into it. I think I've easily spent 10 hours a week every week since being elected.
Yeah.
Some weeks more than 20 hours a week doing it. It's more than an additional part-time job for sure.
Yeah.
But it's been a labor of love.
And what have been the fruits of that?
Well, like I said earlier, we've had a huge increase in membership for both paid and non-paid members on all of our online presences. All of our events are much more heavily attended. Mm-hmm. We're outgrowing a lot of different venues when we try to hold things.
Yeah.
Our winter solstice party, Shelley and Seth Miner, some friends of mine were gracious enough to host the party for us at what has been dubbed the Miner Mansion in Murray. Their large and beautiful home, and I think they were probably shocked at the number of people that we had at that party. It was our largest party ever up to that point. We had probably over 100 people there.
Wow. Till Saturday.
Yeah. And so I'm Tracy and I are hosting the summer solstice party at our home this Saturday, and yeah, I'm guessing that we'll break the 100 person.
Where
barrier.
are all the cars going to park?
Well, I can fit at least like 6 in my driveway.
Well, when I first came across,
they'll have to park in front of the bishop and the stake president's house.
Yeah,
they got space.
When I saw the post on Facebook for the solstice party, the first time I saw it, there was already 110 people. Half of them were going, and the other half were maybes.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I saw it.
Well, and that's just the Facebook group,
right?
That doesn't include the Facebook page or any of the 3 meetup groups.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're already over 100 there.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of people.
Yeah.
It should be a good time.
Standing room only at Dan's.
Yeah. Well, and the weather should be nice. We plan on doing a lot of stuff outside. I'll have a fire going, and I get the tiki torches out, and it's a lot of fun. We'll probably, last year for the election, we hosted the solstice party here also, and did a lot of the announcements and voting and everything inside, and I had the PA system set up just in the living room, and it was standing room only. It was, we probably should have done it outside last year. This year, I think we're going to have to
do it outside
for sure, just so that everybody will be able to hear and be a part of it. But yeah, should be a good time.
What was your goal when you got onto the board 3 years ago? Or I guess I was vice president 3 years ago, but
honestly, I think I was fairly naive in what I thought a position on the board even entailed. I didn't have a goal in mind, to be honest. I mean, I'm really excited about this group. There's a lot of fucking awesome people in here. I love being a part of it. How can I help? Let me do it. Yay.
Okay.
And then it was just, get elected to the board and then start figuring out how everything works, discovering all of our online presences, figuring out places where we could improve on different things, how we could increase our outreach, different types of events we could have. A lot of it was just stumbling and learning along the way.
Yeah.
Then having to deal with the press here in Utah when anything dealing with atheists in Utah or religion came into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get contacted quite a bit. And that's something else that I think a lot of people probably don't realize is, if you're in the Facebook group, that becomes your microcosm. That's, Dan's in the Facebook group all the time. If I tag him in a post, he's going to see it instantly and respond. And a lot of the time I can, and I do, and I'm, I try to be really good about being responsive to, when people tag me in different things. But, we've got our Facebook group, our Facebook page. We're on Google+. We have 3 different meetup groups. We have our website, the YouTube,
Twitter,
for the Atheists of Utah and my own personal Twitter account. So, I'm scattered all over the place, and it seems like, and the particular audience for any one of those things, for whether it's good or not, a lot of the time they figure that that's what I do. That I'm on the Facebook all the time, or that I'm on Google Plus all the time, or that I'm on Twitter all the time. And so, yeah, you get spread pretty thin pretty quickly, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you're kind of always on call, whether I'm working my regular job or if it's 3 a.m. and shit is blowing up and there's a giant flame war in the group on Facebook.
Yeah.
People will call or email or tag me or send me a text or a private message.
The rage quitting.
We've had a few of those, huh?
Rage quits are the best.
I don't even know who came up with that name, but it's perfect.
I saw it somewhere, and then I started using it, and then I've noticed a lot of people have adopted it. I don't know if they picked it up from me or if they also
it's
saw
a gamer
it
term.
Okay.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, people that play online games and stuff, they just get their ass fucking handed to them over and over again. They just rage quit out of the game. Yeah.
Fuck you guys, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. What do you want to see the group do in the future? I mean, like, maybe say the next 3 years. I mean, you'll still be affiliated. You'll still be around. You'll still be, I'm sure you'll be somewhat of a mentor.
Well, yeah.
I mean, a lot of the people are either, I mean, not that they're new or naive or anything, but there are some younger members that are up and comers and that kind of thing. And
sure.
So there's going to be a lot of.
Sure. And I, we're, like I say, I'm super busy in my role as president of Atheists of Utah. I think we've done a lot of good. We've expanded our online outreach. We've expanded the number of events and types of events that we do. I think I would like to see it. I would like to see it continue growing and continue, expanding events and
more positive community services and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, and we do quite a bit of that. We have our monthly Good Without God events that we do. We volunteer at the Homeless Youth Resource Center, Planned Parenthood, the Utah Food Bank, the Wasatch Gardens. We've adopted a section of State Street that we do for Adopt a Highway. Did I already mention that?
No, you didn't mention well, previous episodes maybe.
And then we do the Pride Festival in Salt Lake. We do the one in Provo. Last year, we'll be doing that again this year. Those are just our volunteer those are just our volunteer outreach programs for building community and stuff like that. We've expanded in so many different areas. I mean, we've expanded. I think one of the things we did that has been really beneficial in expanding the group's scope and outreach is setting up and trying to pump or trying to push people to become dues paying members for Atheists of Utah. Mm-hmm. Money moves the world, and just like anything else, even us rotten atheists need money for various things. A lot of people seem to think that when we host parties or events or camping trips or whatever we do, that that just comes free somehow, or
even just the booths at festivals, and
the plates, napkins, cups, pizza, cutlery, camping site, all of the food we provide, all of that stuff just falls off a truck or something, or is donated from somebody, and that's not the case. I mean, we buy all of that stuff as a board through the money that we raise by selling different merchandise that Tracy has been awesome at organizing and ordering, and also through our memberships. And so the thing about memberships is that it gives people a more vested interest in being a more active member of the group, right? So if you're a paying member of anything, it gives you more of a sense of belonging and more of a sense of empowerment as being, a bona fide and certified member of that group. So you're much more active in the group. You participate a lot more. You let your voice be heard a lot more, which is always good. Yeah. And so I think we've done a lot of good there in trying to get more paying members. And if you're listening to this and aren't a paying member and would like to be, you can do so by visiting the Atheists of Utah website at atheistsofutah.org and clicking on the membership link, and from there deciding which level of membership you'd like to purchase. And then your membership, one of the things, and I have to credit Grant Larimer with this. He had previously served on the board. He's taken a year off after his term ended, and now he's running for the board again. I think he's rooting to get just the 1 year, board position if he wins. And I think that would be awesome. I think it would be great to have him back on the board again, to help transition the other new board members onto there. Yeah. But, one of the things that I have to credit him with, just one of the many things that I need to credit him with is, looking at, well, sure, people can decide that they want to be a member, a dues paying member of Atheists of Utah, but what does that get them? What benefit do they get from that? Why would they do that? And so, I talked about having a more vested interest in the group and being more active and all of that kind of stuff. But in addition, as a dues paying member, you get discounts on merchandise from us. You get to attend our annual camping trip for free. You get to attend our quarterly parties for free and bring a +1 if you want. There's quite a few benefits that come with being a member versus being a non-paying member.
And you actually save money by being
absolutely.
a member if you want to attend all the events.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, if you want to go on the camping trip, if you're not a dues paying member, we charge you $15 a night. Where you can sign up for just a regular membership for $25 for an entire year that covers, not just your camping trip, but also all of the quarterly parties, get you discounts on everything else. So, yeah, you can save quite a bit if you want to be really involved and want to come to all of the events.
At what point is there a specific part of the plan for the future of the group to squash the Mormons? I'm just wondering where that comes.
Boy, we'd have to have some really big shoes to squash that. I know that their numbers are hugely their reported numbers are hugely overinflated, but they still, I'm sure, outnumber us here in Utah by
for sure
by a fair number.
Millions.
And the LDS Church
has money.
They have a shit ton of money. I mean, when you demand 10% from your members, you're going to end up with, 10% is your ticket to heaven.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Billions. Well, yeah, they're a multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation. Yeah. With holdings in just about everything. Yeah. How much did City Creek cost to build? Billions of dollars.
Yeah. And now it's sitting on tax-free property.
Yeah. Federal tax. They're paying state tax on that.
Okay.
The state is making them pay taxes. But yeah, I don't think we'll be able to squash the LDS Church. I hope that we continue, and I'm sure we will, to speak out very, very loudly against all of the different harms that I see the LDS Church doing. Sure, the LDS Church does do some good works, but I challenge anybody to provide me with anything that can be done strictly through religion, that can't be done
Right.
from a secular viewpoint or on a secular basis.
Well, I was going to say, I saw that post, I saw it today, but I saw yesterday or 2 days ago when someone put up that post about the family that was trying to get help from their stake bishop. Then I noticed on Facebook where it said a bunch of people from our community donated enough money to get that family food and groceries, and
a bunch of members of Atheists of Utah donated food and or money to help support people who not only are not members of Atheists of Utah, but are active members of the LDS Church, who, are contributing well over $300 per month in tithing, not contributing anything to Atheists of Utah, but were struggling, and they went to their bishop and were treated really poorly. And members of Atheists of Utah stepped up and donated a bunch of stuff to help this family out.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. With things that the LDS Church, the harm that it causes, you said. But I think one of the major features about religion that gets overlooked in harm is neglect. When you talk about a multi-billion-dollar corporation like the Mormon Church, which is entire income, well, not anymore, but its entire early income was based on donations from its members. How fucking little they do to give any of that back for any benefit for society is remarkably horrific.
Yeah, well, and a lot of the I see a lot of the church's leaders seem to have this view that the benefit that our members get from paying their tithing is a ticket to heaven,
the spiritual
and
blessings.
They get to participate in going to church and volunteering and doing all of these other wonderful things.
Right.
That's what they get for their tithing.
Yeah.
As if they couldn't do that somehow without paying 10% of their income.
Right. Well, it's part of their doctrine that faithfully paying tithing is supposed to reward you, that the Lord is supposed to reward you, so that you'll never have financial needs.
Right.
You'll have wants, but you'll never have needs. So what do you do with the needy? Then the bishops are forced to say, well, you must not be righteous in other areas then.
Well, for those that don't know, too,
I mean, that's what you. That's
the
what you're
LDS
left
Church
with.
has huge warehouses full of food. They have canneries. They have their own ranches where they have
That's
their
true,
own.
yeah.
They got a ton of food. But the way I see it usually is unless
they run the bishop's storehouse, which is basically the church's internal
community.
I've
seen unless you are so desperate that you're like, well, we'll give you food and we'll help pay for a little bit of your rent, but you got to work for us for free.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the ability to go work for them for free and work in that warehouse, sorry, we can't really help you out because we really need you. If we're going to give you something, you got to work for us.
Regardless of the number of years that you've been paying them thousands of dollars per year, you still need to go in and work your ass off.
For
work
free.
Basically slave wages in when compared to what you get as far as charity from the church versus what they want you to do for that. Yeah, it's slave wages.
It's sad.
It kills me, and shit, I was going to relate a story that I'm sure most other people have heard, and I can't remember if I've told you guys, and now I can't even remember what the fucking story was.
It was a story you were going to tell us, and you can't remember if you've told it before.
We were talking about tithing, and
I just repeated back what you said.
About giving the church money, the church not giving back.
It'll come to me again, I'm sure.
Ticket to heaven.
Ticket to heaven, getting into their... Fuck, I don't remember. Anyway, I got distracted by... You took off your hat for a minute, and the hair was like, wow. Yeah.
I did?
I think you were readjusting.
Oh, I may have been.
For those who don't know, Matt has like Bradley Cooper hair.
And I'm bald.
I wish I was more Bradley
Ryan,
Cooper.
it's kind of the evolution of hair loss right here on the table.
I would gladly give up my Bradley Cooper hair for Bradley Cooper other things.
What other things are those?
Well, just about any of it. He's a good-looking fella
Yeah. Yeah.
with a decent career.
Yeah. Seems like a nice guy, too.
Does. Yeah. Speaking of, how about that segue?
That was
Speaking
horrible.
Speaking of what?
I was just going to mention Utah's somewhat mentioned in this particular article. We're diving into newses.
Oh, cool.
This comes from HuffPo by way of JT Eberhard. It says, this is JT speaking. I can assure you that you don't have to spend too much time in the rural South to see that they're a little behind. What I personally note when I'm in the South are the churches everywhere, the rates of obesity, and the number of people who smoke. HuffPo has an article that details many of the ways the country's most religious states, which, in order, are Mississippi, Utah, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, and Oklahoma, are not doing so hot. And there's a list. I won't read them all, but 7 of those 10 states are among the 10 states in the nation with the highest percentage of their citizens living under the poverty level. 6 of them are the worst states in the nation in rates of obesity. 7 of them rank in the bottom 10 states in the nation in overall health of citizens. 9 of the 10 rank in the bottom 13 states in the nation in life expectancy. They also rank poorly in quality of health care. 5 of the 10 states are the only states in the nation without a minimum wage law, and all 10 of the states rank in the bottom 16 states in the nation in minimum wage. Goes on and on. More about education. 9 of the 10 states rank in the bottom 18 states in the nation in per pupil expenditures for public education, and so on.
I think Utah was actually rated last in that for amount of money spent per student.
Yeah, per student. I think it is. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of when we were talking about the billions that are being hoarded by the LDS Church in Salt Lake, and not a cent of that is going toward anything like that.
Or the $3 million they're throwing at fighting same-sex marriage.
I think it was 30.
Well, for Prop 8, yeah,
Prop 8 was
through their membership, they contributed over $30 million.
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily the LDS Church that's fighting marriage equality here in Utah. And they certainly are, but the $3 million refers more to what the state is spending on.
For the appeals in the 10th district court, which it's supposed to be out by the end of this month. They're supposed to settle on that.
How can a church even legally put any money in towards a political?
They can't.
Well, they can't, but they can poke and prod their members to say, "Hey, we as a church are not very much for marriage equality, and if you feel the same, you should go out and do something about that."
But the government also can't look at their records to see where they spent that money either. So,
right.
Well, they could if they chose. They just choose not to.
But I know there was some anecdotes floating around during that Prop 8 situation where some of the bishops in certain California wards that were they were getting the tithing slips from certain members were saying, "Hey, well, we know what your income is because it's stated on this, right? We think you can afford to give a little more to the cause," kind of thing, which is about as intrusive and inappropriate as I can imagine a church being. But it's still under the radar.
Well, or they can pull a D'Souza and just give money to your friends to donate to it.
But the thing is, they don't.
I remembered the story I was going to tell you. Want to hear it?
Before you forget, say it.
Yeah, right. Perfect.
So, I was going to relate a story. You were talking, Matt was talking about, one of the core beliefs within the LDS Church is that if you are a tithe-paying member who, is temple worthy and everything, basically, if you pay your tithing, God will provide. And I've told this story a few different times to a few different people. I don't know if I've told you guys yet. I don't believe I've mentioned it on the podcast yet. But so I work with this guy who is very, very, very devout LDS. I mean, he attends church every Sunday. He does family home evening. He, does local missionary work, if you will. He goes around his neighborhood and talks to people. He's a home teacher. He does temple work every week. I mean, he's all in. And Anyway, I was at work one day, and I'm sitting in my cubicle, and I overhear this particular coworker speaking to another coworker, and my other coworker had mentioned to the very, very devout LDS guy. Both of them are LDS. The one guy is like, super Mormon. He should have a big M with a red cape and a blue shirt kind of thing. Anyway, the other coworker who's by all accounts still very LDS, but not quite as ignorant, I guess, was relating to the first coworker I mentioned that his son was recently diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and that it had hit the family really hard. They were trying to deal with it. He's getting his son in to see the doctor for a bunch of different appointments and everything, and he's just kind of telling my other coworker, why he had missed work the day before and why he would maybe miss some time coming up. And the first guy, the super devout LDS guy, says, well, if he had been going to church regularly and paying his tithing, that probably wouldn't have happened. And just me overhearing that, I wanted to jump out of my chair and go and fucking throttle the guy, right?
For sure.
But my other coworker was just like, I turned around just in time to see his jaw kind of drop open and his eyes get a little wide, and he kind of leaned back in his chair for half a second, and then, I guess really quickly just decided to kind of brush it off. And he's like, yeah, well, that's kind of beside the point, but we're trying to do this and this and this. And, I'm sitting over my cubicle just fucking fuming.
Being offended for him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it wasn't even a month later that coworker number one, Mr. Super Devout LDS guy, announces to the rest of the team that I work on, or that I work with, that his wife had been diagnosed with breast cancer. It was everything. It took everything for me to not say, are you not paying your fucking tithing?
Oh, yeah.
Is your wife not worthy? What did she do to fuck up and get breast cancer?
Yeah.
Better pay more. Better pitch in 20%.
It's still to this day, it bothers me so much. Like every time I see him, I'm like, how's your wife?
Yeah.
Hoping, of course, that she's doing well. And by all accounts, she is. She's, she's gone through chemo.
By God's will, she's in remission.
Yeah. But it pisses me off so much to this day whenever I think about it.
Yeah, that's one of those. I think every religion has at least a hint of that, if not a full dose of that. Blame the victim kind of. Even the caste systems.
You didn't do enough.
Yeah, the caste systems of India. Where the reincarnation. If you're born poor, you fucked up in the last life, and so this is what you get, kind of thing. Down to The Secret. And all the woo that surrounds that stuff.
If you put good energy out, good energy will return to you.
Right, karma and all that crap, and so you don't see a whole shit ton of really poor, destitute, homeless people subscribing to The Secret. It's all the people who are doing really well for themselves and want to take full credit and get to say, yeah, well, this is all because I've been so fucking awesome that the universe has rewarded me.
Right.
And that part pisses me off.
The other one I've always hated was with athletes. Like, oh, thank God for my abilities to play this sport and all that kind of stuff. And my thought has always been, the day I see a 600-pound man run down the field as like a fullback and just score a touchdown by dodging every player on the field, I'm like, God might have had something to do with that, because that 600-pound man shouldn't have been able to do that.
Right.
Well, I've always wanted to see, too, like at the end of a game, they interview, the team captains from both sides, and the winner is usually, all thanks to God, this is without him, we wouldn't have been able to win, we prayed, we come together, blah, blah, blah. I've always wanted to see the opposing team who lost have that guy just be like, well, we came out, we showed up, we worked really hard, we did everything we could, but Jesus fucked up. Jesus wasn't here on our side tonight, so ultimately it wasn't going to happen for us.
That did happen.
Really?
Yeah, with, what was his name?
Tebow? No.
No. Fuck, I'm not going to be able to remember this. I want to say it was a basketball player, though.
He would be my new sports hero.
But he did. He tweeted that, that kind of a sentiment. Yeah, and got just berated.
And he did that as he was a religious person, though, too, right? Wasn't he?
Right.
I think I remember that.
But it was kind of like, what the fuck, Jesus?
Yeah.
I
worked my ass off. Why didn't I get my just desserts?
Right.
I just think it's outrageous
I can't remember who that was.
I'm thinking the poll said over 50% of this country believes that God chooses the outcome of an NFL football game. It's like, are you fucking serious?
Right. You ignorant bastards.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with skill, apparently. It's all what God says.
He's too busy determining the outcome of sports balls games to feed the 30,000 kids who die of starvation every day.
Or your coworker's wife with cancer.
Right.
Right. Well, his schedule's loose enough to give it to her.
Yeah. It's the curing of it that's the problem.
But he doesn't, just to wrap up this article about shitty states that are usually religious, it's also worth noting that of the 10 states, all the citizens of the 10 states are fervently Republican. I know that, maybe all of our listeners are not liberal or even Democrats, but you should be.
There's a trend with Republican states and horrible things.
So here's the number. 80% of the United States senators are members of the Republican Party, whereas only 36% of the senators from the other 40 states are. So 80% versus 36%.
And this is for what again?
Those 10 states.
Oh, okay.
That the most religious states.
Yeah. Well, and I think the Republican Party has made a misstep in allowing the religious right to guide them around by the nose. And I think they initially did it with the thought that, hey, most of America is Christian. This is going to be great. If we can get all these Christians on our side, who are the huge, huge majority here in the United States, we're going to roll over everybody, and this will be fucking awesome. Not realizing that, most Christian people are much, much, much more moderate than the hard right, Tea Party Republican
even
people who believe that we need to set up our own theocracy here in the United States.
Yeah.
You got a problem with a lot of them Republican Party. Are you done with your story yet?
No, go ahead. There's just one more paragraph.
Go ahead.
He was going to try to. He was going to segue.
I got caught.
That's all right. I'll try to help you out.
I saw you look down and start reading it. I'm like, he wasn't done yet.
There's just one quick little finish here. Sorry, Ryan. And I completely disregarded that segue criticism we got because fuck that. That's part of our game here.
We got. I didn't know we got criticized for the segue part.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
We're good at it.
I like our funny segues.
Yeah, get busted all the time.
No, I like it too. It's a fun part of the show. So this goes on to say, it seems the GOP isn't exactly doing a bang-up job where they're largely in control. Maybe that's why they focus on religion in schools and abortion. They can't say in a national campaign, we need more of the same things that are making our home states suck. And if more religion in government is supposed to make things great, why aren't these states really great?
It's a very valid question.
Yeah, exactly. And also, other things the Republicans suck at.
Oh, like knowing the Constitution.
What?
I mean,
they all carry it around in their pocket, don't
but
they?
you have the freedom of religion, correct?
Fresh pocket right next to their heart.
Yeah, for toilet paper.
But you got the freedom of religion. You can choose any religion or non-religion you want. You have the freedom to practice that.
Sure.
Except for in Arkansas. Because apparently the pagan temple got shut down because they found out they were not Christians.
They just found that out?
Well, I guess...
that's older than them.
That's just...
No. This guy wanted to have open a pagan temple.
Oh, it wasn't It wasn't already
even
running.
open yet.
Oh, okay.
He didn't even unpack the boxes before he got a cease and desist letter to stop all operations because he's not a Christian organization.
How can that happen?
Was it not private property? Well, even still.
Well, it was private property, but here's the article. It says a high priest of an Arkansas temple said that the city of BB ordered him to close after finding out his religion was pagan and not Christian. High priest Bertram Dale told the BB mayor Mike Robertson he had initially supported his plan to open a Seeker's temple and a spiritual goods shop in the garage behind his home. So yes, it was on private property. It was on his own home property.
Well, sure, Seeker's Temple could... I mean, as a Christian, I would hear Seeker's Temple and go, they're seeking God. They're seeking Jesus.
Yeah. Well, apparently...
That's fine and good.
He claims he was told that since he's not a Christian group, he could not open. And the city came back and said, no, you never submitted the right paperwork and we won't allow you to open a business in your private home. When he can go and say, well, there's plenty of other religious groups that have private meetings and worships in private homes.
Sure.
Why can't I do it? He said it's nonprofit. I'm not making money off this.
Particularly with religion, he should be able to get away with that because there are all kinds of exemptions specifically written for religion.
Yeah.
And it's his freedom of religion.
There's no way that's going to stand.
I hope it doesn't. I mean, I hate we've been seeing it more and more with especially Republicans and really conservative people saying this is a Christian nation, so Christian religion comes first. All you other people can go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, and they're starting to rule that way, which is the scary thing.
Right.
It's not just rhetoric anymore.
It's been allowed to creep into our secular government.
Was it even, I want to say about 5 years ago, when there was a mosque that was supposed to open up in New York.
The ground
it was
zero.
like 5 blocks from ground zero. The people already owned the building. It wasn't even technically a mosque. It was a large building where it's going to have different levels of places for people could worship it, but it was going to have a Muslim center inside of it, and everybody protested and say, no, we don't want that, we don't want that. But it's like, no.
Rebel.
They own the building. It is their building. They have freedom of religion. No matter how much you like it or dislike it, they have every right to go in that building and worship however they see fit to worship.
As long as they're not harming anybody else.
Exactly. Right. Well, unless you're Christian, they can harm whoever the fuck you want in the name of your own God.
Well, if you can hide it and transfer your religious leaders around to other dioceses, sure.
This is the classic one-way street that we see with these tea partiers all the time. It's just if it's Christian, we want the First Amendment. If it's not, you don't have the right to do. Yeah,
well, I mean, I've heard plainly say the First Amendment rights only for Christians.
Yeah, where it's the Constitution was written only for Christians.
Yeah, so if you're Muslim, it doesn't apply. Like no,
even though it was specifically not for Christians.
Yeah,
yeah, that kind of thing really pisses me off.
And I'd actually seen, along with talking about moving people around, I don't have the article right here, but I read it about 3 days ago where there's a pastor in Florida that now is at a church, and it is for adults only because he is a pedophile. No children are allowed to join the service because he is not allowed to be around children, anyone under the age of 18, because he's been in prison for pedophilia.
That's a step up from some of the other religions.
But they know it. And they still know that he is... And they still allow him to have service, but they just change the service to work around him.
Well, surely God has changed him.
Oh, some of the comments in it were horrible. Like one person said something like along the lines of, "You need to have children attending church more, or else they will start thinking for themselves."
Right.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
But you said he went to prison?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I think Jesus lives there, so he probably did find him.
But he's still on the
finds Jesus in prison.
Well, he was a minister when he raped these kids.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he's just back to the job. But can't have kids at the service, so it's 18 and over only. And the diocese there, or whatever you want to call it, is working with him on it.
I wonder how many jobs you could go back to after you diddled a few
Not
kitties.
many.
Thank God for religion.
I know.
It's a good thing we have a moral compass on Earth.
But we don't want to tempt him, so we'll keep all the kitties away.
Yeah.
Segue.
Speaking of maybe kitty diddlers, Pat Robertson. On Monday, blasted former President George W. Bush for selling Americans a, quote, bill of goods before the Iraq invasion, which led to the violence that's currently sweeping across the country. This is an interesting little phenomenon, and I've actually got a couple short stories that are linked on this topic.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious as what he's
Robertson seems very hit and miss on, like, he'll say something that I'm like, I can get behind that, sure. And then other times it's,
what?
You should allow your husband to rape you whenever he wants, kind of thing.
Right. Right. I was ready to laugh, but then you said that and I got shivers. No, it's okay.
I felt bad for chuckling at the end of that statement.
You were kind of left hanging there a little bit. Me and Ryan were both like, yeah.
Well, I was just thinking the senator that was just quoted as saying that if it's all right for a woman to have an abortion, it's all right for a man to rape her.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
He said the man's superior strength should be allowed to overtake her if she's allowed to have an abortion.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
that's a politician.
Wow.
Yeah, or a religious leader. Anyway, on Monday during the broadcast, a viewer asked Raperson if there was a solution to the ongoing violence caused by an Al-Qaeda splinter group, ISIS, threatening to take over Iraq. Is it Iraq? Iraq? Iraq. Okay.
They came from Iran.
Iran.
Did they?
No, it's
Is that a joke?
Israel. Well, you know what ISIS stands for?
No.
Islamic State of Iraq and Israel. No,
What's
Iraq and
that?
Syria. No, I fucked up there. Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. So they actually came from Syria, and they're going through Iraq.
Okay, all right. Okay.
They've taken over like a third of that.
Oh yeah, they're outside of Baghdad right now, trying to destroy the city. I know they've taken over oil fields.
They took Tikrit and
Mosul. Yeah.
Yep.
Aren't they one of the more brutal groups over there too?
Oh yeah, they were rounding up everyone that was associated with the Iraqi army, putting them in ditches and shooting them in the back of the heads.
Yeah.
Truckloads. Like thousands. 10,000 people were killed. I think they said the Iraqi Air Force has only killed about 200 of their guys so far.
Okay, well. So after something like that, it'd be pretty easy to turn to look back with hindsight and say, that was a mistake. Right? I mean, well, this is what Pat's doing right now. Yeah. But I have another story too, so I'll go on. Raperson says, right now what we did, and it was a great mistake to go in there, pointing out that Saddam Hussein's quote bomb maker had said that the then dictator doesn't know how to make an atomic bomb. Did that make sense? That doesn't sound like a full sentence.
I think he's implying that
the guy who's in charge of making bombs says, "Hey, we don't know how to make this kind of bomb."
And so now Pat's saying, "Yeah, that probably was right."
Yeah,
I bet it wouldn't be very hard to find clips from 10 years ago of him saying the exact opposite stuff. But
he might not know how to make a bomb over there, but he knew how to make chemicals that would snuff people out pretty quick.
Anyway, so to sell the American people that he had WMD was a lot of nonsense. We were sold a bill of goods and never should have gone into the country. Blah blah blah. As bad as this is Pat talking. As bad as Saddam Hussein was, he held those warring factions in check, and he contained those radical Islamists. Fix it? No. It's too late to fix it. It's unfixable. Those simmering animosities have been there for centuries. So that quote I thought was interesting because there's two things that I took out of that. One, yeah, Saddam kept those factions in check, but in a Hitler-style, Stalin-style fashion. I mean, is that, and then the second thing
it wasn't through benevolence by any means.
Sure, yeah, of course not.
It was a war, but it was a Shiite-Sunni war at the time. It was, hey, I'm Sunni, you're Shiite, guess what? You're dead.
Right. And
the thing I think he's missing is right now ISIS is taking over Iraq. ISIS is not Al-Qaeda, which was the faction that we were fighting in the old Iraqi military.
I keep hearing people say it's a faction of Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda even thinks that ISIS is crazy.
Brutal. Yeah.
Al-Qaeda's like, these guys are fucking nuts. We're backing the fuck off. Al-Qaeda is scared of ISIS. Because they are. They're like the ISIS I would compare to the Mexican drug lords.
Oh, yeah?
Completely 100% ruthless, brutal. They were executing people and hanging them from crosses in the streets, the bodies.
Wow.
At least Al-Qaeda would bury you. These guys are hanging bodies in the streets and leaving mass graves for everybody to look at, to make statements going, we're going to kill you, we're going to slaughter all of you.
Sheesh.
Well, and the other part of that quote that I thought was interesting was that Robertson thinks it's totally unfixable. For an atheist, I could see maybe thinking there's, even then it still seems pretty grim, but I could, but when you believe in an omnipotent, all-loving God,
couldn't Pat
to just
Robertson
say, nope, no way.
Yeah, couldn't he get all of his followers to pray this way?
Yeah, fucking pray, bitch. What the hell?
Where I look at it, I'm like, this war's been going on for 1,600 years.
Sure, but that's what he's saying. That's a rational point of view. But that's what pisses me off, is like, if you're going to fucking sit there on TV and collect millions and millions and millions of dollars for all the bullshit that you say works all the time, you don't get to use words like unfixable.
Right.
You don't get to use that shit.
Yeah.
Fucking fix it.
Yeah.
Or give the money back.
Tell all of your people to pray. Tell all of them to volunteer.
Yeah.
Send them all over to Iraq to change the hearts and minds of these people.
Right. Yeah. Stand in a line and hold hands and be a barrier around Baghdad or whatever.
Not to be the
surely Christ will protect them.
The evil one here, but I think really the only way to get rid of ISIS is to kill every single one of them. The way they operate is they train you as a child to hate everyone and live by a strict Islamic law. you get to become an adult, there's no change in that. You've been brainwashed your entire life. It's like a cult mentality. The only thought you have is non-Islamic, dead. Non-Islamic, kill it. Non-Islamic, kill it. And they think it's perfectly 100% okay to do any of that. And they're taught that from a very, very young age.
They're taught that that's perfectly justified.
Yes.
So we need to send all of the Christians from this country who were raised the same way.
Oh, so we're going to have another Dark Ages. We're going to have the
No.
Crusades again.
No. We'll keep Bill Nye and Neil Tyson.
No, we'll keep them. The Christians versus the Muslims. It's going to be the Crusades all over again.
Fine, but this is the world they want to live in.
Yeah.
They consistently fight for that kind of bullshit. That's what they fucking want. That's how they want to live.
They all want their
But Islam
their
is a religion of
motherland
peace.
Yeah, so is Christianity.
Yeah. I
They're
don't...
two sides of the same coin. As far
Well,
as I can see.
and you know, I'm kind of torn here. I mean, you look at the U.S.'s involvement thus far as, you know, the longest war we've ever fought, ever in the history of the United States.
15 years?
With all of our advanced technology, know-how, spies, drones, bombs, everything, and it's the longest war we have ever had to fight.
But it's also the most rules we have to follow. The more we get into it, the less you're allowed to... Everything's more publicized.
Right.
Like when the war first started off, we were allowed to go and bag a guy and bring him into a room and beat the living hell out of him and find out where the other guys are at and go kill him. Now it's like, well, you got to treat him like a real human.
Well, sure, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, you know,
just say, we are treating him like a real human, a real POW human.
Yeah, well, where before it was kind of like we
no,
didn't really have the POW situation. It was more of the we need to get a job done. We're going to do it any way as possible.
Sure.
But now we got media watching us, and now we're going to end up in jail if we hurt this guy that just got done killing a bunch of Americans.
Yeah, I don't think we should have gone there in the first place for sure, and that's where I would agree with Robertson. And
Ryan's
at this
not a
point,
psychopath, everybody.
No, no, but I do think
I know him personally.
I do think Saddam had to be dealt with as as he was an evil person. He was.
Yeah, he was a bad dude.
Well, there are tons of evil people, but I mean, we haven't invaded Rwanda. We haven't invaded. We didn't invade Syria. We didn't invade Colombia, Mexico. I mean,
Bashar al-Assad is a bit.
I actually brought that up the other day, saying you got Rwanda where you got child soldiers being brought up. The only thing we're giving them is food to cause even more infighting.
Yeah, and what about
why don't we go to that country and help them out?
Right. Well, and it's because they don't have as many resources that we need.
Or Boko Haram.
It's not going to affect our economy as much.
Sure. Well, they don't. Well, I guess Nigeria has oil, but
do they have oil or do they have ports?
Both.
Actually, I think they do, and gold.
Yeah,
and diamonds. Anyway,
I don't know.
I think Robertson's last quote on this one was probably the best one. He says, quote, "They'll continue to play out until such times that the Lord brings out of Babylon some evil antichrist or something." End quote.
So it's unfit.
I love the precision of his revelations.
Don't they want that
something.
then?
Or, something. Fuck, I don't know. Give me money, bitches.
Because if we bring forth the Antichrist, doesn't it bring, Christ back? I thought that's all they want is for Christ to come back.
Yeah. Okay, so he did mention the second coming of Christ earlier in the article, yeah.
So, I mean, that's what they want, right? I always hear Christians we're waiting for the second coming.
Yeah, of course.
Christ is coming back, and I'm ready for him.
Because that allows them to stay asleep during this life.
And be ignorant to everything that goes on.
That's what I mean. They can just put their blinders on and fuck science, fuck education. We'll just go to sleep for a while. This is just the doormat, at the entrance of our real lives.
So do you think Robertson is kind of hinting at this is a sign of the coming apocalypse?
I don't know. He didn't.
It's unfixable.
He just
the only thing at this point that's going to resolve it is Antichrist or Superchrist.
Ooh, I like that one.
I think did you say Superchrist?
Yeah,
Superchrist.
Antichrist is Superchrist.
How do you go super on Christ? That's fucking awesome. Wait, super.
Well, he initially was a man.
Uh-huh.
He initially was a man who walked the earth. Man. He roamed the earth in his sandals, preaching to the peoples.
Then he found kryptonite.
And then he was reborn. Then he was reborn and ascended as Superchrist, vowing to return one day.
Zombie Superchrist.
Dude, why do we not write this comic book?
This should be a movie.
He comes from the planet Kriston, and he's Kryptonite's the only thing that'll stop him.
So this might be a weird side note, but I always
Gets
have
power
these
from the
ideas.
yellow sun.
I always have these
that's
strange
the Asian
movie
god.
ideas come up in my head, and I thought it'd be a funny ass movie idea if you had Christ is resurrected and he comes back down, but instead of like everybody ignores him, so he becomes a magician. So he's doing all this magic stuff.
be
It's like,
pretty hilarious.
look, it's back to life. Hey!
It's David Blaine.
Yeah, exactly.
He probably is the right look.
So,
Yeah,
so that's what it
for
would.
that.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
basically what the movie would be. Half it would be Jesus coming back. Nobody wants to recognize him, so Jesus Christ becomes a magician.
That's totally David Blaine.
Yeah.
Just like, hey,
Maybe we could get him to
sure.
start, or
you got a second? Let me
well-
show you a trick.
I'm going to show you something.
Hold
Come
on.
here, come here. No,
Hold
no.
on to this.
Come here.
Yeah. Hold on to this glass. Is this a regular glass of water? Hold on to this water.
I won't take
Just
my
hold on.
pants
Look
off.
at it. Look at it. Just look at the water. Now it's wine.
Gotcha, bitch. Or it could be who's the other, that Chris, whatever.
Chris Angel.
Yeah,
Chris
with the
Angel.
long,
I actually
he's got
prefer-
long hair.
Actually,
And he's
prefer
always covered in
David
crosses.
Blaine, though. That's true. Yeah.
I can't get past Chris Angel's lisp.
Does he have a lip?
Oh, God, you haven't noticed that? It's that, and it's that New York lisp, too.
Oh, really?
The New Jersey, New York, East Coast lisp.
Oh man.
It drives me nuts.
Is it like Is it like the Tyson? Mike Tyson.
It's like
Oh, no.
it's like Cindy Brady doing magic tricks.
I haven't
Drives me
seen him enough.
Fucking bonkers.
Really?
Yeah.
I know everyone likes him, but I've watched a couple of his things. I think David Blaine's better.
Yeah.
David Blaine does the subtle street magic, where Chris Angel's more of the in your face,
Showy puff of smoke kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, another interesting article that is similar to Raperson's
No segue.
bit about. That was it, man.
Oh. Weak sauce.
You need to go to Segway school.
another article.
Oh man, I have an article here to read.
Fuck, that's awesome.
Yay!
I think it's kind of similar in that this is a quote I will read. You can try to guess who this came from. Barack Obama is a great president.
Ken Ham.
The Affordable Care Act was a huge success. Amnesty for all undocumented immigrants. Liberals, you were right.
Sarah Palin.
No.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I saw the headline on this that somebody said Barack Obama was right.
Glenn Beck.
Glenn
Yes,
Beck.
yes, yeah! Boom! You got it. Nicely done, sir.
Nice job. Yeah, Glenn Beck saying the liberals were right and Barack Obama's a good president. The ACA was a huge success.
There's got to be a catch,
Well,
because he doesn't agree with anything liberal.
yeah, I had
This sounds like a big butt.
I had to sort of suss this out. It's not as obvious as it might seem.
Is he
but I
being
think-
sarcastic?
Well, but no, he's not. No, he's not. But after reading two such articles from Beck and Raperson, I had to figure out what the hell's going on. And I
Cats
think,
living with dogs, up and down.
yeah, I better stop calling them that. I'm going to end up.
I
Forgetting his
guarantee
real
he
name
doesn't
is
listen to
Robert.
this.
It'll be like me and
No, I know he.
Mormons
No,
burning
no.
bridges.
I know he doesn't. But I'm just saying. I'm gonna in my personal life. I'm gonna start saying Pat Raperson, and everyone's gonna be like,
I would agree with it.
yeah. I don't know him that well, but he could be. So Glenn says, from the beginning, most people on the left were against going into Iraq. Iraq.
Iraq.
Iraq. Okay. I wasn't. Liberals, you were right. We shouldn't have. He urged both parties to come together to oppose another war in Iraq. Not one more life, he said. Not one more dollar, not one more airplane, not one more boat, not one more, not one else. It goes on and on. Now, can't we come together on that? Sure.
Okay.
I don't know. What are all the hawks saying? What is McCain saying?
Yeah, right.
the opposite of what he said 6 months ago.
He's the biggest saber rattler of all of them, right?
Sure. I mean, and, there's some, up and comers too, like Ted Cruz and Paul Ryan.
Oh.
And
Well, yeah,
those
you've got
fucks, but-
Cruz, McCain, Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
What are all of the hawks saying
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Iraq lately?
But anyway, I mean, on that simple question, sure, but we were all saying it's better to not go in the first place.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to not get into a war than it is to. I mean, look at all we just named off a shit ton of wars we've avoided.
Right.
It would have just been a lot easier to do that than try to pull people now, as we're seeing. Then he says, No, sorry. That was the end of his quote. But while he's saying that, the U.S. announced it would send more than 200 soldiers to Iraq to help deal with escalating attacks by the militant group ISIS.
Yeah, well, they're going to the embassy
Sure.
to help
But
try and
protect
protect
the
the
embassy,
embassy with the Americans in the embassy.
I'd say fuck it, shut down the embassy and get out.
get out,
That's-
come home, yeah.
Well, they actually said that when they built that embassy, they built a bunker in there with like a year's supply of everything you would need. So that's what they're holding up right now. And they're basically saying, well, it's like a nuclear bunker they got built in that thing because they were basically planning on, well, if shit goes wrong, we need a place to hide.
Yeah.
That's where they're held up right now.
But
Eventually, we will have to get them out.
yeah, I
of
was
there.
just going to say, can't these ISIS guys,
Yeah.
they live in that desert. Can't they just,
Wait it out.
just hang out above them and be
well,
like, oh, yeah, this
If they
fucking
built it good
gold-
enough, they built it good enough for a B-1 bomber to fly over top of it.
Oh, and then
So-
just lay waste to
Just
everybody who's
like,
out
boom,
there.
Yeah,
land the helicopter, pick them up, and go home.
Yeah.
on the sheet of glass
Yeah,
that's newly
I was going to
formed.
say, turn it into a parking lot and then...
Come out of the bunker.
So the only connection I could find, or at least, and maybe this is a spurious one, I don't know. But these are typically two, not usually democratic viewpointed individuals, Robertson and Beck.
Yeah.
So for both of them to converge on the same idea, it makes me think now that Obama wants to make a move in the Middle East, they're like, yeah, fuck war, fuck that. You guys were right. Yeah, fuck it. We're not going to give that guy an inch. That's what it seems like to me.
Well, I know he said he wasn't going to
it's not
send
even
any
that big of a
combat
deal.
troops.
Yeah, I know.
And I did read today that the Iraqi military is asking for our air assistance to send bombers in. So we still have that kind of diplomatic thing where it's like, well, if you ask for help, we can give you help, but we got to authorize it first. So
They should fucking pay for all of it.
oh yeah,
Why not drone them?
those bombs are
But, you know, at the
expensive.
same... I say
I
they
know,
should
I
pay
know.
for it, but at the same time, then we're still sending people over there who are going to end up dead eventually, for sure. I mean, not all of them, but...
Well, plus we went in there somewhat uninvited in the first place.
Yeah.
We invaded.
So, and then occupied.
Well, first we blew it up, then we invaded.
Yeah. First we put Hussein in power, then we blew it up, then we invaded.
Yeah,
then
I
we
remember.
occupied.
I remember watching television with the shots of the bombs falling in Baghdad,
Yeah.
with Bush superimposed over it, saying "United States has begun, wartime operations.
Bush
We've
one?
begun." Yeah, no, Bush 2.
Two. Oh.
We've begun bombing Iraq. We're gonna, blah
They
blah blah.
exceeded the time frame, and
Yeah. Sanctions aren't working. They've whatever, and just seeing the split screen of him speaking and the bombs falling in Baghdad, and I was like, Jesus, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah.
leveling the whole
Well,
city.
because I remember watching enough of Schwarzkopf and Powell and Desert Storm that when this whole shit was going down and with Bush 2, as soon as I saw a fucking green city show up on the news, I'm like, oh shit, we're at fucking war.
Yeah.
There's a green city. I see white flashes in a green city. We're at war. Fuck this.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my tip.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got the people who are like, okay, we went in, it's a you broke it, you bought it kind of thing. We need to go back in and fix it.
Right.
We've been there twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been there twice. Are
broke it
they
twice.
hoping that the third time is a charm? What would we do differently this time that would somehow fix the situation?
Mm-hmm.
They say that we got to fight them over there so we don't have to fight them here. That's bullshit. It's a fucking platitude.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fucking soundbite that they use for different shit to justify the evil and reprehensible things that they choose to do.
Yeah.
And it's, these people that send our troops over to war, they, by and large, they've never been in the military. They don't have any relatives who are in the fucking military. They don't have kids who are in the military. We lost more troops fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan than the number of people who were killed at the Twin Towers, which were, used as ostensibly the
propaganda.
reason why we went into Iraq.
Right.
It's just a bunch of fucking bullshit. There's a sunk cost there already.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost, thousands and thousands of lives and trillions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
That how much better off would the United States be if we had spent trillions of dollars on our infrastructure, on our education system?
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Green energy.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. Any of those things would have been in it, because this is money that's going in the fireplace.
For the money that we've spent there, we could have put every single person in the United States who wanted to go through college, pay for their health care, fix all of our infrastructure, our crumbling bridges, provide broadband to everybody for free.
Are homeless.
How much more
Increase the
advanced would the
minimum
United
wage.
States be had we not fucking done this in the first place?
Yeah.
But what generation we have that has not been in a war since
Yeah.
1800s?
Well, how many Republican
I'd
presidents
like to
have we
see
had?
the next one be the first.
Yeah, sure. Me too. I have a son.
Yeah.
And so do you.
Yeah.
And so will you?
I don't know.
Okay, maybe not. But you were in it, so that doesn't...
I was already there. Been there, done that, did that.
Yeah. I will now segue into Ryan's news story.
You don't even know what it's about.
That was why I segued in that manner.
We're going to disband this group just like the cops in Arizona. That almost worked.
I think it did work. There are cops disbanding in Arizona.
Yes, but where are they disbanding? Have you guys heard this story? I know Utah's.
I'm curious to hear this because I've heard some interesting things.
Well, have you
recently.
heard about, because you got the polygamous compound there that was run by Warren Jeffs down there in
Colorado
Hilldale,
City?
Colorado City.
Sure.
You got the Utah side and you got the Arizona side. Have you guys recently heard what's happening on the Utah side?
No.
Utah side lost a lawsuit. The land is now being given to a group and it's going to be parceled off.
Uh-huh.
So it's basically no longer owned by the polygamous group.
Good.
Oh.
Well, in Arizona, where it was recently in the news, where you had that family that was trying to get utilities for their home,
Yeah.
and they kept getting harassed, and finally they won the lawsuit. Well, their cops are no more. Arizona Attorney General has asked a judge to disband the cops in a town dominated by the polygamous sect. Basically, the
Jesus.
cops were all dirty
Because
running for
they're
them.
either dirty or they're part of the sect itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're kicking them out, and they're bringing in the sheriff's department from. I'm trying to find it right now, real quick.
While you're doing that,
from a
I just
nearby
wanna-
group.
I just want to do a quick callback because I think it's just important to sort of stick a pin in this here. When the Mormon, the official quote official LDS Church doesn't want to have anything to do with the polygamists.
Sure.
And when they're on the opposite side of a thing like Prop 8 or the watch how fucking fast they get that shit done.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But education, who cares, right? It's just anyway.
Well, I
back
guess
to Arizona. It sounds like it's crumbling, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess they were quoted as saying the disbandment of the marshal's office is necessary and appropriate because this police department has operated for decades and continues to operate as the de facto law enforcement officer's arm for the FLDS Church.
Right.
So yeah, they're basically coming in. I know it was
They were basically receiving government funds to be their own little police force.
Yes. It says the town's about 7,000 people, and it's going to be the Mojave County and Washington County unit from Utah that are going to be the new police units watching over the town now.
Good news.
So we got Washington County in Utah and Mojave County in Arizona. So both sides of the border are being taken. Sheriff's Department's being kicked out. Their police force is being kicked out. They're coming in and taking over.
When you have police departments like South Central LA and New York and Boston, Detroit, and some of these like how fucking corrupt does a little district have to be for the rest of the cops to be like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Ooh, there, partner.
Florida, how about that? I mean, and these guys are saying, wait a minute, these guys are so bad, we got to break this up.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, I mean, I haven't heard anything about like the mayor's office or anything like that yet, but I'm waiting for their whole political just to be kicked out because of the way they run the place.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think if that family went to come in and brought the lawsuit out of the town with not getting utilities, not getting sewer, not getting plumbing, and basically they stuck it out for, I think it was like 8 years, living there with none of that. Having to have generators, having to have an outhouse, just to prove a point. Well, they moved there because they liked the scenery. They were retired and had no clue. They had lived in parts of Arizona and stuff. They wanted to move there because it was cheaper. And like, well, we're just going to retire here, right at the base of this mountain. It's a nice area. Not really knowing a whole lot about the FLDS Church owning it. They bought a house, everything. And it wasn't until they moved in when they had their
that might have been a mistake.
Water and electricity cut off.
I'm trying to think of the Latin term for due diligence.
Fucto? I don't know. That's not it. They weren't.
I don't think that's correct.
Although I'm going to add that to Urban Dictionary.
Fuckto.
When you don't do your research.
Search.
Ipso
Fuckto.
fuckto.
Or I don't know if you guys will. You guys ever watch Trailer Park Boys?
Oh yeah,
It's getting all fucky.
I haven't.
Fucky.
I haven't watched all of Trailer Park Boys. I've seen. I don't know.
Well, that's what
Probably
if you,
7 or 8 episodes.
if you know the character Bubbles.
Sure.
I can't remember when he starts doing it, but he starts, instead of saying like, "Oh, it's just fucked," he goes, "This is all fucky."
His name's Bubbles.
Bubbles.
Yeah.
He's got these big, thick
fucking-
glasses. Yeah.
Tons of kitties.
What is this show called?
Lives in a shed.
Trailer Park
Boys. It was on. It's a Canadian show. It's watch
fuck.
it. It is
Go
funny as
figure.
hell. It's
Yeah, it's good.
the quality of the video quality and audio quality of the first 2 seasons
It's
weren't
like
great.
cable access.
Yeah, but that got famous.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So the first 2 seasons are low quality, and the quality jumps up as it goes on. They made a couple movies and stuff too. It's pretty. I like it. It's funny.
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes. The one that sticks out in my mind is the one where they paved their driveway with hash.
Yes, they had stolen the hash and had to find some place to hide it. That's the whole season. The whole season they're trying to like keep off people off. Like he's
jeez.
always out sweeping it, and room like, "Don't park your car here!"
Oh man.
Trying to hide the hash.
That sounds pretty good.
It's
And
a good
anybody
show.
I might know from that show, or is it
No.
just okay?
No,
No,
they're
it's
all.
all no name.
Yeah.
I don't even think they've ever had like a special guest appearance or anything. Have they? Like a cameo?
They kept making fun of Patrick Swayze on it because they kept referring to the guy that always got the drink in his hand as Patrick Swayze. Like, you look like Patrick Swayze. So they're always talking about it. And then Patrick Swayze died in there. I think they're always
Then they
trying to
stopped
get him.
Before he could make a cameo.
Yeah, I think they're always trying to get him to be a cameo on the show, so they always talked about him. And even at the bottom of the show, someone would say, what's his name? Does not endorse this episode.
Oh.
Patrick Swayze does not
Patrick
endorse.
Swayze does not endorse this episode of Trailer Park Boys.
So that's as futile as Dan's attempts to get Bradley Cooper on this show.
Yeah. Do you think he would come on?
Between Two Ferns, man.
I want
like,
Zach, yeah, I
hey,
want Zach
I have
Galifianakis on here.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Shit, we almost already have him.
You need to come in one day with the big pair of sunglasses and the baby cradle on your chest with a little kid in it.
What's up, guys?
White jeans that are too tight. And a wolf t-shirt.
Wolfpack.
Yeah.
Back.
Just don't give us any roofies.
You can give me rupees.
Why not? I was planning on it actually.
Okay.
I gotta work tomorrow.
I think we're both about a 2 on the Kinsey anyway, so that might be all right.
Sure.
Well, I was a 0.
Yeah, I know. So and you don't want them.
I wasn't planning to roofie you.
I actually I made some guys do that last night at the bar. We're sitting there. I was talking about that test and like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, do it. And I made them all take the Kinsey test. And there's a few questions that like we had. We're talking about like, what do they mean by that?
Yeah,
question?
really
yeah.
ambiguous. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were kind of doing the same thing too. And then the guy brought up how many times he had been in a 3-way, and we're like, I don't ever care. Dude, fuck it.
Sure, yeah. Right. Well, and the gay porn one, do you avoid, well, like,
That's what we talked about.
I don't
Yeah, do
intentionally
you-
search for it, but,
Yeah.
like, I don't totally, whatever. I don't know.
It was kind of funny because
I
when
feel
we're
exposed
doing
again.
it, talking
And I
about it,
didn't
that
mean to
2
do that
chicks
to
were
myself.
making out behind us, and everybody's like grabbing their phones out to take a picture, and it's like,
Oh, really?
yeah, this is kind of
Well,
hot.
and that I'd never
Do
thought
girls
about
like,
it.
I don't think girls like,
I don't think
we
girls
asked-
like.
there's definitely a,
I don't think girls like guy on guy porn.
Yeah, we
not
asked
the
the
way
bartender.
that guys like girl on girl porn.
Yeah.
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 We actually asked the bartender if she'd ever watched guy on guy gay porn, and she's like, well, I tried once. It wasn't very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't that weird? What, I wonder.
Well, and this reminds me, like I'd never thought about it
maybe it's not weird.
until Tim mentioned it last week. Like
Tim mentioned?
for Tim mentioned it last week that he doesn't understand, and it had never occurred to me, but he doesn't understand how guys who are like super homophobic, how they can watch even straight
Yeah,
porn
yeah,
because
yeah.
they're going to see parts of the male anatomy.
Sure.
It's called fast forward.
Well, and I remember, back in the day with my buddies when we'd get drunk and watch porn or
On
whatever at a
VHS.
bachelor party, whatever, and it was my, more, super macho hetero friends who were always really excited about the money shot, and I never quite understood it, but yeah,
What is
you don't know what the money shot
No.
is? Well, the money shot is
The money shot.
when the guy pulls out and ejaculates on whatever.
Oh,
That's the money shot.
that's the.
So when they say give us a money shot,
It's the male ejaculating.
Why do I feel so fucking young and naive right now?
I'm surprised you didn't know that.
I had no idea.
Really?
You've never seen that Mark Wahlberg movie where he's the porn star? I can't remember what the name of that one was. 90s.
Yeah, where
Boogie
where
Nights?
it's
Boogie
kind of
Nights,
an, yeah,
yeah.
Boogie
I have
Nights.
not seen Boogie Nights.
Yeah, it's loosely based on John Holmes.
Yeah.
Does this go back, like, so a lot of comedy from, I don't know,
Comes from
late
porn?
80s to mid 90s maybe? There was this like big kick about, make her fucking sleep in the wet spot. That was fucking all over. And I was like, what the hell does that even mean? Like, is that where he pulls, or is that just the accumulated sweat from the activity? Is that like, what the fuck are they? Is that a money shot punchline? Is that what that's about?
No, you.
Well,
Now I feel really awkward about asking you, like, have you never created a wet spot?
No. Okay, sure, but I'm just saying, since you, I've never had sex. Okay, so at least in the front. I'm just kidding.
yeah, you really won't get a good wet spot from the back, will you?
No, so I'm just
I don't know.
okay.
This just got awkward for you, didn't it?
A little
It
bit.
got a little awkward for me. Like, I
That's-
kind of feel bad for you right
That's
now.
what made me feel awkward because
Like, we need to call Matt Stat and have him give him the talk.
oh Jesus, my dad.
See, Matt, when two people really,
My
really
dad
like
even
each
knows
other,
what this means. Oh, okay.
how did your parents did your parents
they
ever
never-
give you the talk? No.
I had in high school when I'd bring a chick over, my dad would usually yell, "Don't forget to wear a condom." My mom would say, "Wear your underwear backwards and don't take it off."
Because then you don't
can't
have the
get it,
opening,
yeah.
right? That's good on Mom. Well, it'd be uncomfortable.
They also said if you get a call from the jail, we're not going to bail you out. All a lot of that good
Did
stuff.
your parents give you the talk?
No, I lost mine at 13.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's why he's
and
got
it
a
was-
20-year-old child.
Wow. 13?
I don't know. 20. My son is 13 now.
Yeah.
It's not- yeah.
13.
He's not
seriously.
from that. He's not from that though.
What, like, how did this come about? If you don't mind me asking.
I had a girlfriend.
At 13, wow.
Yeah.
Have you heard about
I might have been just 14. It might have been that winter when I turned 14. I can't remember.
Wow.
Have you heard of the thing that happens here in Utah? I told some friends about this the other day. They had never heard of it before. Called
Floating, soaking.
soaking.
Yeah.
Ever heard of that?
No.
Apparently,
God, I haven't heard of anything.
well,
You live in Utah County and you haven't heard of soaking?
Yeah, but I'm not from. I've heard of bagpiping.
What's bagpiping?
Is that like a rusty trombone? Except for
No,
without the
that's
ass play?
disgusting.
Okay, you
Dirty
tell me.
Sanchez.
You give me soaking, and then I'll. No, I'm not. No, don't
sense-
give me soaking. But
No. We can't soak.
Okay, all right.
Well,
Does this have anything
Yeah,
to
I
do with
guess
the
you
wet
could.
spot?
yeah.
kind of.
Well, if you create a wet spot by soaking, she is really horny.
Yeah.
But
Oh, okay.
soaking
Oh, okay.
is basically where instead of saying they actually had sex, he just sticks it in and just leaves it there. No
There's
movement.
no,
Oh, okay.
there's no,
Yeah.
Because that's not
you
considered
just, you
sex.
just put it in.
There's another term for that.
Floating.
Yeah.
I've heard
Yeah.
floating and soaking.
And yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that you're not actually having sex.
Sure. Okay.
So what's your bagpiping?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's
so
bagpiping?
that's for all you BYU students that might be listening. Here's a trick. In order to
Pro tip.
avoid, yeah, no, this comes from a BYU singles ward bishop, and so the confessions and all that kind of stuff.
Did he refer to it as bagpiping?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
So in order to avoid actual sexual relations, the erect male would insert it into the armpit of the female,
Oh, yeah,
and
they-
she'd close her arm, and he would continue to money shot that way.
I've also heard
Wow.
Can that be a verb?
a prison term of slick legging or something like that, where they grease up your legs. And
Why do
basically
prison
use that
terms
as a-
just sound so much more horrific?
Well, I mean, it's similar to that one where you say they do it in the
Yeah,
armpit,
but
I've heard
it's
of prison
so
where they
not-
toss
when
your
you-
thighs
When you
and-
say prison, it just is. Anyway, what is it? It's with what?
where they lube up the inside of your thighs and you put your thighs together, and the other guy
Oh,
uses
Yeah,
your
no, that's
thighs
fun.
as a.
that's decent.
Sure.
I mean, that's what that reminds me of with the armpits
Bagpipe.
saying
So
that.
you say a bishop told you this?
Yeah, BYU singles ward.
Like
To
as
hump
as
her
an
armpit.
option?
It was something that was trending.
I'm curious to know the genesis of this conversation.
Well, he didn't know what a wet spot was.
Well, no, I mean of his conversation with the bishop.
Yeah, no, but
wherein he was schooled on what bagpiping is.
Right, yeah, no, I was with you, Dan, but thank you for immediately going back to my naivete. So no, it was a father of a friend of mine who was pretty open and pretty cool, and that just, I don't know, he was
bagpiping. That's a new one.
I think some of it was that he had some college-age children, and he was just really open about what was going on, and hey, this is this, and this is what's going on, so be careful. I don't know.
I would say if you're gonna, I
don't get it.
I don't understand why bagpiping would be better than.
I don't understand why sex is the problem anyway. But
then I can't think of any other term than tit fucking.
Yeah,
true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Unless it's because then you'd be touching what some Mormons may think are
fetishized
part
parts.
of a sexual
fetishized parts. Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. They think the armpit has no
But either way, then
use.
She's still touching your sexual bits.
Yeah,
right. But not
unless you had to put a bag in there first.
That seems very strange.
Well, it sure it is.
How does the logistics of that work out too? Because I'm picturing like she'd have to be really, really broad shouldered.
Maybe she's on her like
I'm staring at Ryan trying to picture my dick in his armpit.
That's not a good image.
Okay, no. So I'll show you on Ryan what.
Okay, let's go over here.
Because I mean I'm trying to figure out the logistics of it. If you're trying to insert your penis into her armpit, I mean you've got hips and legs, and I mean where would that? Do you just like tell her to try to lick her other armpit while you're like
Does she lay down and you just get on
maybe from the
top
back?
of her arm?
Maybe, I don't know.
Do they lay this way?
You'd have to use some lube in there, though, because I don't know. Is that what
sure.
I don't know.
Unless she's really sweaty.
Well, if she just shaved 2 days ago, it's a little prickly, probably too.
Yeah, it seems really strange.
Yeah. Well, I haven't tried it. I didn't. It was just what I heard was trending.
The bishop didn't want to do it with you.
Well, no, he did. He did. But I was a little young for him. He was old for me. He was too old for me. I was perfect for him. It just was. Wasn't that the problem with polygamy? That the child brides and molestation and multiple wives and all that? Isn't that the main
line of armpits?
Problem with the polygamous group? Speaking of Saudi Arabia, in a string of royal decrees and an overarching new piece of legislation to deal with terrorism generally, the Saudi King Abdullah has clamped down on all forms of political dissent and protest that could, quote, harm public order. The new laws have largely been brought into combat the growing number of Saudis traveling to take part in the civil war in Syria, who have previously returned with newfound training and ideas about overthrowing the monarchy. To that end, King Abdullah issued Royal Decree 44, which criminalizes, quote, participating in hostilities outside the kingdom, with prison sentences of between 3 and 20 years. Article 1 of the new provisions defines terrorism as, quote, calling for atheist thought in any form, or calling into question the fundamentals of the Islamic religion on which this country is based.
Well, they are an Islamic state.
I know, but it just sounded so Tea Party to me.
Yeah,
if you replace it with Christianity.
Well, and I don't mean to step on the toes of this article. Did you see that the Sultan of Brunei has decided to put in place Sharia law in all of Brunei?
Yep.
I saw that the other day. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and concerning.
Yes.
To a point.
Well, yeah, Sharia law is really fucking terrible.
Sure, of course, for the 78 people that live in Brunei.
I think the population there was 400,000.
It's not tiny.
Yeah. Well,
it's
as far as nations go.
Yeah,
it's tiny.
I mean, it's bigger than Iceland.
Is it? I don't. What's the population of
about
Iceland?
300,000.
Oh yeah.
Iceland is mostly not ice.
Well, do you know why they named it Iceland? To keep people away.
Yep. Then they named Greenland, so they all went there and they got fucked.
Right.
Right.
I thought
This ain't green.
these are things that Tracy has taught me.
Yep.
I was going to say, you would know because you look like Eric the Red.
I'm Icelandic.
Those guys are disproportionately large. Well, they're also very atheistic, too. In Iceland.
Or just non-religious for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like people say China is a very atheist country. It's not necessarily atheist,
okay.
it's not religious.
Well, but China is religious. It's Buddhist. But they don't
Parts
believe in a
of it,
supreme
yeah.
being.
Yeah.
There's also Christianity in China now, too, is becoming more and more, I thought, too.
And, of course, there is Christianity in Iceland, too. But there are large groups of
Non-religious.
real atheists in Iceland. They also, a lot of them believe in trolls. That trolls live in the woods.
I believe in trolls. I see them on the interwebs all the time.
Oh, yeah, there's shit tons of those.
They're real. I used to have one on the end of my pencil.
Those are real, yeah. Those are real. And they're not as ballsy as humans.
Real pains in my ass.
Yeah. It goes on. Joe Stork, Deputy Middle East and North Africa Director of Human Rights Watch, said, Saudi authorities have never tolerated criticism of their policies, but these recent laws and regulations turn almost any critical expression or independent association into crimes of terrorism. That actually... Okay, so it goes on. Human Rights Watch said that the new regulations were also a setback to campaigns for the protection and release of a number of prominent human rights activists currently jailed in Saudi Arabia. It said Walid Abu al-Kahir and Milkif al-Shamari recently lost appeals and will soon begin 3-month and 5-year respective sentences for criticizing Saudi authorities. The organization said the new, quote, terrorism provisions contain language that prosecutors and judges are already using to prosecute and convict independent activists and peaceful dissidents. So they've already been doing that. Now it's just official.
I don't like it. I mean, I don't think any country should be ran that way.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, that's the way their laws are dictated there.
It's not exactly a shocker, I know.
Unless we have international laws prohibiting that kind of stuff, they have every sad right to do it.
Sure. I think for me, it's how much of what the Saudi authorities were saying sounded like what the Tea Party is saying here.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where it really rang as a little concerning to me because, you know, that's the kind of government they want to have. That's the society
they want a
put in
theocratic
place.
government, except for instead of a Sharia law,
They want
a Christian law.
How can they not see that that's never fucking worked?
It's called blinders.
Because they don't see that
because their states have the shittiest education.
And they don't see that it's never worked because they think that it will work for them. They think that this is what I believe. You know, this aligns with my religious beliefs, and my religious beliefs are true. So this has necessarily got to be true. This will work because my religious beliefs work. This will be awesome.
When they believe with God, anything's possible. It's like, well, if we pray to this guy enough and everybody does it and everybody's on the same side, then why wouldn't it work? But
sure,
like you said, I think it's false hope. It's not what we need.
Of course it is. Yeah.
We need educated people. We need scientists. We need mathematicians. We need people that are just good people that want to help out.
So have you guys, and I don't know if you prepared a story for this or if you guys have even been following it at all, but kind of a local news that's become national with John Dehlin and Kate Kelly.
Yeah.
Have you guys been following that at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I've been reading all the articles that have been published all over the place. I've been reading a lot of the things that John Dehlin has been posting, and it sounds like so far, they both received letters, basically saying that they were being called into a church disciplinary hearing, and that so far John has been able to kind of stave off, necessary excommunication with the hope of meeting with his stake president and avoiding that, and that Kate Kelly hasn't been as successful in trying to stop her probably what is going to be an excommunication.
Yeah.
And that what will happen, at least from what I've been seeing so far, is that John will probably be allowed to stay in the church. He may be disfellowshipped. I don't think he'll be excommunicated.
Are they going to let him keep doing his podcast?
Well, they can't really stop him from doing his podcast.
Or threaten him with...
But, yeah, well, and that Kate Kelly will probably end up being excommunicated, which is, it's sad in that she wants to maintain, she's a devout believer. She wants to maintain good standing in the church and wants to see the church change, and there's nothing written in church doctrine. I don't know if you guys listened to the Radio West show with Doug Fabrizio. He interviewed both Kate Kelly and John DeLynn, and then Allie, I can't think of her last name. Allie's someone who's a PR spokesperson for the LDS Church, which is really, really rare, right? Yeah. Like the LDS Church typically doesn't send anybody out to actually be interviewed for anything. Rare, yeah. They will release statements, they'll release, press releases, whatever, giving the church's official position on something, which is usually just some nebulous statement of this is what we believe and this is why, and they don't particularly address any issue head on. Yeah. But they actually let Allie go on Radio West and be interviewed by Doug Fabrizio, who did a fantastic job.
Dude, Doug's a great interviewer.
Phenomenal. I really like Doug.
Yeah.
But they had this Allie spokesperson from the LDS Church on there, and he, Doug basically nailed her on, she was saying that Kate Kelly is, actively working against church doctrine in trying to get, in trying to get priesthood ordination for these women as the head of the ordained women movement. And Doug Fabrizio basically nailed her on it and said, where is it written in church doctrine anywhere that says that the priesthood is only for men? That, women can participate in everything else, but as far as the priesthood is concerned, that will be withheld from women. Where is it written? Where is that put down in church doctrine? Mm-hmm. And she hemmed and hawed and tiptoed around it and stumbled quite a bit. And he kept trying to hammer it and finally got her to say, well, it's not written anywhere.
So why can't she?
Yeah. Well, and Kate Kelly, in listening to her, so the first day, Doug had John and Kate on. He interviewed John first for half of the show, and then he interviewed Kate for the second half of the show. And, I know there are a lot of people who don't like John. A lot of people who have left the LDS Church who don't like John, and I think that's unfortunate. I think he's done a lot of good for people outside the LDS Church, or even people inside the LDS Church. I watched an interview with John where he was interviewing Jeremy Runnels, who is the author of the CES letter. I don't know if you've read that. Mm-hmm. You should go and check it out. It's really, really good. It's just cesletter.com. But John interviewed Jeremy Runnels, who has since left the church. But, Jeremy said that the Mormon Stories podcast and John really, really helped him in his transition. Gave him a soft landing as he left the church. It wasn't that John led him out of the church or anything John said necessarily led him to leave the LDS Church, but the services that John provides through Mormon Stories podcast and a lot of the work that he does, basically let Jeremy know that he's not a shitty person for leaving the LDS Church. Mm. And even those people who follow Mormon Stories podcast and everything who choose to remain members of the church, John provides a really good service for those people to let them know that it's okay to doubt. It's okay to doubt. It's okay to question. It's okay to have these thoughts and feelings. That's a normal part of being a rational human being who is thoughtful and considerate of the things that they choose to believe. But it was really sad in that, it's pretty obvious that John is not what I would consider to be a devout Mormon, right? He's very much, he doesn't believe in a lot of the core teachings of the LDS Church. He doesn't believe that, Joseph Smith translated the Book of Abraham, that he translated anything from golden plates or anything like that. John is much more culturally LDS than he is a true believing Mormon.
I didn't know there were really many or any of those.
Jack Mormon.
Well,
I think there's a lot. There are a lot more than you would know, probably.
Yeah. Okay.
But so he moves on from his interview with John, where John says all of these things, and he wants to remain a member. That he's trying to provide a service. He wants people to be able to question their faith and feel okay in doing so. And then Doug moved on to interview Kate, and Kate started crying at a couple different points during her interview because she is a very, very devout LDS woman.
Sort of.
Who, well, no, she is really.
She's looking for change.
Well, and the points that she was making is that she's not even necessarily, well, sure, she would like a change in that women should be able to be ordained in the priesthood. And that would be a change from what is currently practiced, but it's not a change necessarily from church doctrine because it's not written in church doctrine anywhere that women can't hold the priesthood.
Yeah.
And, her position is that she wants women to be able to, participate more fully in the LDS Church and be a bigger contribution. And she's super devout. I mean, she's a true believing Mormon. She believes that Joseph Smith is a prophet, that he was visited by the angel Moroni, and she believes in the first vision and the translation of the golden plates and all of that.
Thomas Monson's a prophet, or any of those others.
Well, and not even that they're not necessarily prophets, but that they haven't been asking the right questions. That they haven't necessarily addressed a need for women to hold the priesthood. And she spoke about blacks in the priesthood.
Yeah.
And
of course, that's the obvious
that the church that the church didn't allow blacks to hold the priesthood until for a really long time until 1978.
Right.
And that it was in large part due to members speaking out about blacks not being able to hold the priesthood that change was eventually made. And she's trying to do the same thing for women, much like women's suffrage and getting the vote and anything else like that.
I'm not saying that I'm not for her cause. I just... I mean, it's tough because I look at, why don't you just fucking ditch the whole, why are you still saying, I want to be a part of this thing that's so misogynistic and so racist and so stupid, right? This whole thing is just, and I still want to be a part of this group, but do it my way. She's obviously not accepting the revelations of Thomas Monson, who's their current quote prophet and all this kind of stuff.
I think she would argue. I think she would argue that she is accepting his revelations, but that he hasn't asked, God for a specific revelation about this. So the God
just sits there with folded arms, knowing exactly what she wants and exactly what the world needs, and says, "Well, he didn't ask me exactly, so wait till." Come on, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
so there's a part of me that wants to be like, "You're fucking being stupid."
Yeah, and I get that too. And
I mean, but at the same time, I can also appreciate the movement she's trying to ignite, you know. And I do feel for that she's being threatened with excommunication, because clearly that's going to be something that means a lot to her.
Well, yeah, and even John mentioned during his interview that he would think that it's really unfair, and would he didn't say it specifically, but basically intimated that if he is only disfellowshipped or has no disciplinary action taken against him, as somebody who is honest in saying that he doesn't believe necessarily in a lot of the core tenets, that if there's no disciplinary action taken against him, or at least not as harsh as it could possibly be, that he wouldn't be excommunicated. But then if they excommunicate her, that would point to the fact that the LDS Church is a misogynist organization.
And of course they are.
And would necessarily lead to a lot of people leaving the organization because of that.
But the Mormon Church, better than any other religion in history, I would say, is a PR machine. They're pro at it. They're not going to do that.
I think they're very, very good at it, but it's really, really hard.
It's getting tougher.
It's like trying to polish a turd. And sure, Mythbusters showed us that you can, in fact, polish a turd.
Yeah, you can.
But at the same time, somebody else made a post, and I don't even know if it was necessarily related, but the analogy that they made for something else, it could possibly not be related, was that in trying to do some of these things, it's like trying to pick up the clean part of a turd. There's no real way to do it right.
Sure. I mean, I guess In my mind, I'm thinking more of like, if you want to maybe compare the Mormons to like the Catholics, fucking disaster they've had for the last 50 years or whatever it's been. It's kind of like comparing, I don't know, like Carl's Jr. to Taco Bell. Right. And Taco Bell being the Catholics. Carl's Jr. ads and marketing, great. They always look awesome, and then like with Taco Bell, there was this whole thing that came out on the tweets and the Facebooks where people were like, oh, it's only 20% beef, or whatever. And Taco Bell came out and they're like, what the fuck? No, it's not. It's 80.
Pink stuff.
Yeah.
And they were fine to say that. No, it's 80%. That's
What's
Taco
the
Bell.
other
They're like, yeah,
20%?
fine. That's the Catholic Church. They're just like, no, we're not fucking every child. You know what I
Just
mean?
80%.
Yeah, exactly. It's 80% beef. So, but that to me, that's the difference. I mean, but I don't understand why she even wants to remain associated. By the way, for everyone out there, disfellowshipping just means you can't take the sacrament for what's usually 6 months to a year and a half, and then after that, you're usually fellowshipped again, and you're fully back into all the ordinances.
Yeah, well,
rituals,
I wanted to mention too that when Allie went on Radio West, it's a live radio show that accepts callers. I mean, that's their thing. As part of her appearing on Radio West, she told Doug and had them agree that they would not take callers.
Oh, you
during
serious?
her
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to talk to anybody that
Yeah.
It'd be too tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and she's in an indefensible position, really, and the LDS Church is in an indefensible position.
Yeah.
Regardless of whatever action they take now, the fact that they sent these letters to John and Kate, regardless of the outcome that comes, it's going to be bad for them. They're left with a bad option and a less bad option.
Right.
It's going to drive members away from the church that they've done this.
It's kind of like their Euthyphro dilemma.
The what?
Oh,
Euthyphro?
Yeah.
What's a Euthyphro?
You don't. Never mind. I won't. It's an old Socrates argument. It's a good one that creates a dilemma that both options are not favorable for Christians to try and answer about the morality of God.
Yeah, I mean they've painted themselves into a corner, and John made a good point in saying that. There's been chatter that this is a concerted effort coming down from on high, that members of the Quorum of the 12 instructed these local ecclesiastical leaders, the bishop or stake president or whomever, to send these letters to John and Kate, and that's the big talk, is that this was directed from on high. And John made a couple good points in saying that whether it was we won't be able to ever prove necessarily that it came down from on high, but you do have statements coming from different religious leaders recently that said, if someone within your congregation is acting against the church, you as a local ecclesiastical leader should not be afraid to call them into a church court of discipline. And so whether the Quorum of the 12 or somebody in the Quorum of the 12 specifically called these stake presidents and said, send these letters out, or they've just hinted at it through making these other statements.
Yeah.
Certainly, they're aware of what's going on. And even Allie, when she was talking to Doug, said, yes, absolutely, the Quorum of the 12 knows that these letters have gone out. They know that John has received a letter. They know that Kate has received a letter. And John made a very good point in saying that, okay, they know that we've both received letters. The Quorum of the 12 could stop this at any time.
Yeah.
They could come down and say, no, do not excommunicate them, do not disfellowship them. They could direct these local leaders however they wanted.
But
and if they don't do that, either way, it's very telling that, we now know that, sure, certainly the Quorum of the 12 know that these letters were sent out, and it's up to them now, basically, to either allow it to go ahead or to put a stop to it.
Quorum of the 12, by the way, all old white men. All 12 of them.
Yep.
All millionaires.
This should be a reality show. It should be John and Kate minus hate.
So, yeah, it's interesting. John said that he will be meeting with that he's hoping to meet with his stake president by the end of the month. I think he said on the 29th.
Okay.
Well, okay.
And
stake president.
So far as I've seen, Kate has no such meeting with her stake president.
Sure.
This came from a stake president when she lived in Virginia. She's now living in Utah, waiting to move to Kenya very soon.
All right.
And so it would be a little difficult for
Yeah.
her to meet with the stake president in Virginia.
Right.
And apparently there's this thing within the LDS Church where if you are called into a church court of discipline, the church can basically halt you moving your records to another location.
Yeah.
Like she was in Virginia, she moved here to Utah, and the stake president there in Virginia basically put a halt on her joining any local congregation here
Right.
until he could suss this out with her.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like a bad Blockbuster membership.
Yeah, they're totally
They're out
fucking
of business now.
I know, because they couldn't do their memberships right.
bunch of church blockers.
So anyway, that was the local news that's gone national and is kind of all over the place now.
Yeah. A lot of Utah stuff today in the cast.
Yeah. Anyway, summer solstice party Saturday.
Gonna be awesome.
Hope to see you here at Mikasa.
I should be here. Ryan
There will
not
be-
here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I double booked plans.
Well, I think we'll have plenty of people
We'll have plenty.
here.
We won't miss you. In other words, Ryan.
I still need
Can
to
I
go
call you
out
Rye?
and
I've never asked him that.
Huh?
I just sort of did it.
You called me Rye?
Rye.
Rye.
That's what my mom calls me.
Ryu.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
is that good
Rye.
or bad?
Rye.
Well, I don't know unless you want to be like my mom and call me Rye.
I'll call you Ryu.
Ryu?
Yeah.
Is that like a Atreyu?
No.
No.
Oh, 'cause Atreyu's badass.
Do you have a horse named Startax?
One of them is Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, wait. No, that's Atreyu's Never-Ending Story.
That's a never-ending story.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about Street Fighter.
Oh.
Ryu.
Oh.
I never played that game.
Oh.
Hadouken!
Yeah, exactly. There's all kinds of weird words I never knew how to say.
Anyway, does that wrap it up?
I think
Yeah.
that wraps it up.
I think we learned that Mormons suck. Matt doesn't know what a wet spot is, and I don't know. I thought it was funny to say that. I couldn't think of the other.
Fucking hilarious. Thanks, Ryu.
You're welcome.
I will be
Well, I'm Ryan Duffy, and I'm Breaking Bad.
nice.
I'm
shirt
Dan,
reference for Dan.
short-term President Ellis. Did I use that last week? I don't know.
I don't think I.
I don't think you did.
Sweet. I can use it this week then.
Yeah, I'm Stake President Matt.
Oh,
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you.
that's it for this week.